Nice to see you too. Who wants to start?
Did Otto Porter Jr. go through a full practice?
He did. Yeah, he looked good. I just talked to him. He said he feels good. I would say he's probable for game one.
Just guess your reaction to what you saw in Game 7 last night. Shocking, or just sometimes Game 7s go like that?
It didn't surprise me that Dallas won because they're a hell of a team. And that series, I mean, you had two great teams. Obviously, a series that goes 7 is pretty evenly matched. So the differential was shocking. You know, you just don't expect to see that. But one of those nights, you know, we've all been on the other side of those things. We were last week when we lost by 39 to Memphis. You know, Dallas was just really impressive, played a perfect game, and they'll come in here with a lot of confidence, I'm sure, in game one.
Oh, sorry. Stefan earned his degree yesterday, and commencement was yesterday. He didn't go through it, but what does that say about his work to finish his college degree? And Gary also told us that he's maybe a month away. He's finishing at Oregon State here soon, and that just seems to say a lot about what these guys do away from the basketball
Yeah,
court.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. You know, we have guys who are really conscientious about the world beyond basketball and their impact, you know, in their communities. And also, you know, Steph is a really curious guy. He's constantly trying to expand his horizons, and, you know, getting his college degree was really important to him. So I think it's fantastic. And same with Gary. I mean, it's wonderful when you see guys go back and finish up.
There's some similarities. I mean, obviously not all, but there are some similarities between Luka and the James Harden of the Rockets days, in the sense that, you know, they kind of try to control the tempo and stuff. What are the challenges that you face dealing with Luka, and how are they different from maybe what you had to deal with a few years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dallas team is very similar to Houston from a few years ago, you know, with the 5-out spacing, you know, 5 shooters on the floor. This team has 3 playmakers, you know, with Brunson and Dinwiddie, along with Doncic. But very similar teams, similar challenge in terms of you got to guard the ball, you got to stay in front. If they break you down, your help is just much more difficult because you're coming from so far away, and there's nobody to cheat off of because they can all shoot. So they pose a really unique threat and put a lot of pressure on you. And obviously Doncic is a tremendous player and can beat you in a lot of different ways, and really smart. I think very similar to Harden in that regard. So yeah, we've got a big challenge.
How much do you expect them to target? They seem maybe more than anybody in the league to target certain defenders. How much do you expect them to go after Steph and Jordan? And how much do you guys need to avoid letting those guys get in isolation situations?
Yeah, I think that will happen for sure. I mean, that's been their pattern in the first 2 rounds. So they'll for sure attack us in a similar way. I think this series, more than the first 2 series for us, we're going to have to adapt and adjust as we go. So we'll go into game 1 with a game plan, but I think we need a lot of contingencies depending on how things are unfolding within the game. But we're definitely preparing for all the stuff you just mentioned, and we're going to have to be really, really sharp to win the game.
A couple months ago, you're saying how the way that Jonathan was playing, he earned your trust to kind of have moments and opportunities in the playoffs. He started a couple games last series. Did his performance last series kind of continue that earned trust to say, you know, maybe you are going to see some, you know, big defense matchups in this series?
Yeah, I mean, there's Jonathan is absolutely an option for us, especially a series like this where, there's so much ground to cover. You need athleticism, you need defensive versatility. So JK is a real option for us to utilize. We've been able to watch obviously the 4 regular season games against Dallas, and he had his moments during those games. So he's a part of the game plan for sure.
Steve, what do you think when you see Draymond put his head down and go to the basket to like score? Like, it's obviously something that really helps you, but as you're watching it, are you thinking like, yeah, Draymond?
I see victory. I love aggressive Draymond. That's the best version of him. And everybody plays him differently. The beauty of the playoffs is that every team has different personnel. Memphis played a pretty unique defense against us. They gave us some problems, but I thought that last game, his aggressiveness was really important in terms of breaking down some of the ways that Memphis was defending us. So that's the Draymond we want, and we're going to continue to encourage him to be super aggressive.
What are your thoughts on Jalen Brunson and the season he had and what he kind of means to this Mavs team?
Yeah, Jalen's a hell of a player. It's funny, I played with his dad in Portland in 2001, 2002, and my wife and I last night were trying to picture him in the kids' room. He was probably 2 years old or something, and we asked our son, did he beat you to the rim and knock you down when he was 2 years old? Because he's he is a really strong driver. He's just a bull, and he's become a hell of a player. Big part of their attack. That's the thing, is that you can prepare yourself for Doncic, but you got to be ready for Brunson and Dinwiddie as well. They got multiple playmakers. So Brunson's had a hell of a year, and we definitely have to defend him well.
You could see Steph especially really seemed pleased that Wiggins was happy, that he was looking at Wiggins and wants him to smile. What does Wiggins mean to these guys? Is it just enjoyment from his play? Is his personality? What do you see kind of the back and forth with Andrew and everybody else?
I think it's a combination of number one, everybody loves Wiggs. And how could you not? He's just, he's such a wonderful teammate, human being, just a beautiful spirit about him. So I think people want him to succeed. I think there's a sense that he's got another level in the league to reach, and that when you see those guys pushing him, they're trying to push him to the next level. And I think what we've seen over the last 2 rounds with his defense and his rebounding, is Wiggs expanding his game and expanding his place in the league. I think he's gaining respect by the game. Everyone knew he could score because he did a lot of that in the early part of his career. But now he's on a team where maybe he doesn't have to carry that load. So turning to him for on-ball defense against the best players, rebounding, attacking the rim with his athleticism, timely buckets like he had the other night. Those are all winning attributes. And I think the guys recognize that and his importance to the team effort. We'd be in big trouble without Wiggs, honestly. And I think you throw all that into the pot, and everybody, all the vets, especially Steph, Clay, Draymond, Loon, they just, they encourage him. They cheer for him. They love him. And it's been really fun to watch all that unfold.
To follow up on Wiggins, the Wiggins we see is very quiet. What is he like with the team? And do you think back to when the trade first brought him here? What is he like from that day to now? Is there a shell that he's come out of?
He's very quiet internally too. But he always has a smile on his face. He always embraces whatever role we ask of him. He just competes. He plays. Zero maintenance. So, and the availability is so underrated. When you think about how many or how few games he's missed in his career. He's there for you every single night. And that can't be overstated.
Is he coming at 4?
I gotta go get one.
I know, but is when's Paul coming?
Only around.
I might be working till closer to 5.
Yeah.
People are curious if you were well enough to bring clipboards at home.
No, but the beer mug that I was drinking my beer out of was close to being shattered after a few of those turnovers.
Appreciate the We Believe team for launching the Warriors kind of back to some momentum that the team has today, and just that Dallas series, and it was one of the bigger shockers of NBA playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in broadcasting at the time. I did the game 6 finale of that series. And I think I probably said it on the air. It was the loudest arena I had ever heard in my life. Oracle was just going crazy, and such a great moment in Warriors history, and a devastating one, obviously, in Mavs history, given that I think they won 67 games that year. But I think, the thing that we take pride in here is we've got a lot of history. Maybe we're not the Celtics or the Lakers, where it's like 40 years of hanging banners, but a lot of great history with the Warriors. There's a real vibe with this organization that has resonated with the fan base, that has resonated in the Bay Area. There's a love affair that's there, and you could feel it that night when the Warriors knocked off Dallas in 2007. And obviously over the last 15 years since then, a lot of great things have happened to the franchise. I don't know how to connect all that, but I know that that's a season that our fans will never forget.
What did you think of Dallas's defensive discipline, their switchability, especially in the last 5 games against Phoenix? Just what kind of challenges does that pose for an offense?
They're a really good defense. It's an underrated aspect of all this. But anybody who played against them during the year really paid attention. You see the switchability with the versatility they have defensively, the strength of guys like Finney Smith, Kleba, Bullock. They've got a really good modern day defensive lineup that they can throw at you. And Jason has done an incredible job. You could see the defensive changes he made, not only during the season, but during the playoffs. I think Jason has a great feel for that team. I think the continuity that they have is really underrated. I know over the last 4 or 5 years, the Mavericks have been developing Finney Smith and Kleba. And, I remember talking to Rick Carlisle a year ago, just asking him about their development and how much I admired the fact that they took these 2 guys who really weren't highly thought of 4 years ago. And you look at how much better they've gotten year after year after year. And now it's kind of all coming to fruition, and the timing is perfect because Luka is playing at such a high level. So I think they've just done a really good job organizationally of developing and continuity, developing a defensive mindset and the personnel that requires.
How do you view Looney's role in this series? Obviously, when Powell's on the floor, but even when they take Powell off the floor and spread it.
Loon will play a big role. He's one of our best defenders. He played well against Dallas in the regular season. We'll see what that means in terms of our combinations and starters and all that. We're still kind of evaluating everything since we just found out last night, what the matchup would be. So we'll continue to prepare the next couple of days. The Loon will play a big role.
All right, a couple on Zoom. Scott Ostler, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned turnovers a minute ago. I know you guys play a fairly high risk style anyway, but it seems like the turnovers maybe got out of hand against Memphis. what are you guys doing to address that? And what do you consider acceptable and not acceptable turnovers?
I'm doing the opposite theory. If you're a Seinfeld fan, you remember like Costanza did everything the exact opposite of what he's supposed to do, and life turned out great for him. I'm doing Costanza this series. I'm not even mentioning turnovers. So every other series, it's, number one key. Well, not even going to bring it up.
Okay.
Perfect answer for your column, Scott.
Thank you.
Mark Haynes, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, each opponent that you had thus far, from Memphis, Denver, and now Dallas, y'all lost to them in the season series 3-1. Do you think not having Draymond, Clay, and Steph available at first, obviously it sounds like a bad thing, or do you think it's kind of turning into a good thing that teams weren't able to see them early in the year and now they're kind of getting hit by them by surprise somewhat?
It's an interesting perspective. I haven't thought about it a ton, Mark, but all I know is that we really missed having them together in the regular season, and that's one of the reasons we struggled against all three teams going 1-3. So it's great to have them now. We do have a little different look, I would say, given that they're all healthy. If it's an advantage because those teams, hadn't seen this version of us, then that's great. But I'm not really sure if that's the case or not. But it's an interesting perspective.
All right, final one. Let's go to Maria. Go ahead.
Hi, Steve. Hope you're well. Nice to see you back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I would like to ask you about Lucas. How would you describe his job? I mean, his dominance in these playoffs, considering that he's just 23 years old.
Yeah, he's a really unique player, and clearly one of the very best players in the league. I think the ability to shoot the step back three and also get to the rim and pass the ball so well makes him a really difficult cover, and got a lot of confidence. He feeds his players' confidence. You can see that there's a good vibe on that team. There's a good spirit, and there's a reason they're here in the conference finals. You get to the last four teams and talking about the best teams in the league. So, every best team in the league has to have at least one superstar player, one of the best players in the league. You don't get this far without that. And Dallas is talented. They got a lot of guys, but he's obviously, he's their guy. Speaking of superstars.
Oh, shoot. Well, I won't ask you about that, but what was it like to experience a graduation from afar, but also, be a part of all that?
It was cool. I mean, I watched it on the live stream yesterday morning. It was pretty early. It's cool to kind of relive the sights and sounds of school and campus and all that. This is a long time coming, obviously. Since I left campus, is a goal to finish. Just it's obviously a sense of accomplishment, but a promise I made to my mom and Coach McKillop when I left after my junior year. So it was pretty special. They had the fat head over on campus in my honor. And Coach throws a party at his house across the street from campus every year for all the graduating seniors. And they got a picture of the graduating class of this year and them holding up the picture of me in front of it. So I didn't get to experience that back in 2010. So it was cool.
What do you think about this Dallas matchup?
I mean, they're obviously playing really high level. You have a lot of guys that have shined this playoff run. Obviously, Luka's doing what he's doing, putting up crazy numbers. The way he finished out that series was pretty special. Obviously, what Jalen did in the first round to get them out of that, Jazz series, and what he's done the whole time since. Spencer coming off the bench, providing a huge bump. Finney Smith knocking down crazy shots, and they've tried to step up their defense. So it's a tough matchup. We obviously know we had to be prepared on both ends, and we got to be locked in on, our game plan, understanding that things will change as the series goes on once we get a better feel for what they're like in a playoff, series game after game. But in the Western Conference Finals, figure it out. Try to protect home court like we've done, so far this playoff run, and get off to a good start.
I'm going back to your degree. First, why sociology? And second, did you have to write a thesis to graduate?
Why sociology? That's a good question. Back when I was in school, it was between that and math for me. And it was just, yeah, exactly.
Some people choose communication.
I wasn't an offering at Davidson in terms of the whole liberal arts education that we get, but sociology was, I took a couple classes, I think my freshman, sophomore year, that I enjoyed, and saw it through there. I did have to write a thesis. I wrote it on advancing gender equity through sports. So got to analyze some of the things that I've done since I left school and apply a sociological lens to it. And understand how a lot of different people are promoting gender equity through their voice, their platform, money, financial investments, and their time.
You had to get your degree in order to have your number eventually retired by Davidson. What would that mean to you? You've seen a lot of other guys have that ceremony. What would it mean to you?
That was a huge part of just the full experience of, now being official alum, and understanding the traditions of Davidson, the necessity for that degree to have that ceremony. So we'll see. I don't know. We haven't figured out when that'll be or anything like that, but it'll be special to kind of cement an amazing time of my life while I was there. All the teammates that I played with, Coach McKillop, who's still there doing his thing, representing the program that he built, and being part of that history means a lot.
Steph, Gary mentioned to us yesterday a project where you talked to guys with tattoos. Was that part of this?
Yeah. The whole thing was a separate class, but my guys helped me out on that research project that I had to do. So they got to talk about some of the any tattoos that they want to share, the meanings behind them, and all that type of stuff. And I got to use that as some solid data.
Was that a paper you wrote?
Yeah.
What was it called? What class?
it was just analyzing tattoos and culture. But from an athletic lens, I guess, in terms of meanings, reasons, timing, regret, all type of stuff that comes out of those conversations.
And along those lines, Steph, it sounds like there were some professors who helped this happen, even though they were no longer at one who's now at Santa Cruz and one at Stanford who were willing to work with you. I mean, how much was that a crucial part of this to getting this done?
There were a lot of players involved in it. Dr. Jessica Taft, who's the one you're talking about, Gail Kaufman, who was a sociology chair at Davidson, who was my advisor the whole way. Jennifer Ocker Smith, who's a professor at Stanford out here, who helped me kind of create a framework of how I was going to be able to get the work done. Dr. Clark Ross, who's a professor still at Davidson, who I got to talk to over the last 3 or 4 months, and Chris Clooney, who's the AD at Davidson, who was a graduating senior the year before I got there, who's now the head AD, who's been a huge part of organizing things on that end to make it happen. Obviously, getting to do the work, but all those people play a huge part in making it possible. So, shout out to them.
Steph, Dylan Brooks mentioned it specifically, but it came across in some of you guys' comments too. You kind of felt the young guys coming after the experienced guys, the old guys, whatever you want to mention it. It felt a little generational. Now you got Lucas 23. Is that, I don't know, on your mind that this is, I mean, you got younger people trying to take what you have and you can feel this, is there a little dynamic there on this?
We don't have anything right now. So,
you have 1-3 done.
No, we don't have anything right now. That's the mindset of like us being greedy in terms of what we're trying to go after. There's more so just the, I guess the acknowledgement of like how funny it is when I look at some of those guys and you remind them how young they actually are. Like Jason Tatum's 24, Lucas 23, you got Ja was 20, whatever, 22, whatever he is. So like, that's the only part where you're just like, the hell, like they're really, really that young. You think about what you were doing at that age, like trying to come into this scene in playoff basketball. But outside of that, we're hungry enough knowing we haven't been on the radar for the last 2 years in terms of being realistic championship contenders. And now we're knocking on the doorstep of getting back to the final. So, maybe that's just me in terms of not trying to be like claim the old guy tag, but it's just, we're as hungry as they are to get it done.
Hey, first off, congratulations on graduating, man. And kind of pivoting back to hoops. What have you guys seen on tape as far as Jalen Brunson's concerned?
He's clever, crafty. He finds a way to create space, keep defense on his heels. He's got great footwork. He got pump fakes. He's just very clever on that end of the floor, and it never seems like he gets in a bad way because he can always, pivot his way out, dribble his way out, find a lane to the basket. So, and he's playing with confidence. You got to find a way to take that away from him. And they do a pretty good job of giving each other space with, that 5-out offense that, requires you to have multiple efforts. So it's going to be a lot of different guys guarding a lot of different people. And if we can get stops, be locked in on rotations and obviously one-on-one defense, we can speed the game up a little bit because they do like to control the tempo, and Jalen, his game is kind of predicated on that too.
Steph, I'm sure you're glad to see Steve back, but how much of a wake-up call was that to have him out and, the realization we're not through this pandemic and, a positive test with a player could change the balance of what happens in the next few weeks?
It's kind of weird. Like you said, thinking about what everybody's been through for how long we've been going through it and take for granted the different waves that come through and the fact that this is still something we have to be on, alert with and protect against, and be have precaution in terms of how you're moving, through your day and where you're going, who you're around, how you're spending time outside of this facility. So for Coach, obviously glad he's back, but it's a very sensitive time as it has been since this thing started. So you pray that does not influence, the way that this season ends. I know we're all going to do everything in our power to make sure we can stay as healthy as possible, but yeah, that's pretty much all you can do is just control what you can control at this point.
Were you a little nervous after you got the news about him the next couple of days to see, if it did spread?
Because how close, I guess, we all are from, throughout the practice and locker room and games and all that. Absolutely. But so far, so good. So just trying to, again, control what we can control and pray that we don't have any influence from any outside force in terms of us being available and being able to play.
Similar to what Tim asked you a second ago, has it hit you that the barriers that were always there for you before, Bron and James and Chris and Kawhi and Russ and Dame, none of those guys are around? Is it a little, I don't know, weird, a little strange that none of those guys are there?
A little bit. But you're so locked into what's in front of you, you don't really think about that too much. So especially when you're in a series, like you just worry about the 14 other guys on the other side, and it requires all of your attention and emotional energy. So this is an interesting time now with so many different people chiming in on the playoff conversations. And all the different commentary that's going on that seems a little louder than it usually has been from a player's perspective. So that part has been entertaining, but also a little weird. But again, I think we've only had time, these last 2 days to really kind of take a step back and take a break from the grind of what happens on the court to appreciate all the other stuff that goes on around NBA playoff basketball and all the theatrics.
Steph, when you see Draymond playing in Game 6 where he's going to the rim with the intent to score, and how much does that change your offensive prowess?
It just keeps the defense honest in terms of how they want to guard us. The fact that he, I think he got 14 shots. It was just aggressive in transition, aggressive when he saw daylight in the paint. It keeps the game a little bit simpler just because we have confidence that he can make shots, that he can, be aggressive, finish at the rim, and get his float game off. If he has a wide open three, take it, knock it down. Even if, it doesn't go down, it's good offense and the defense feels that we're creating good shots. So it gives us a different life for sure. And he's obviously a gamer. He knows what's required to win. I know he has responsibility to influence the game a lot of different ways, and so his offensive input kind of gets pushed to the bottom of that priority list a little bit, maybe a little bit too much. So for him just to be aggressive like he did, that's what he's capable of, and we have confidence that he can do it.
How you've seen two different teams guard you two different ways, and you talked last time about Memphis's unique personnel. In what ways do you expect Dallas to approach you? We've seen them, like Jason Kidd, just say, we're doubling you from the beginning. You're going into a series, are you thinking, okay, here's another thing I have to try to figure out?
Yeah, it's always like that, but there's more, I guess, specifically with Dallas. They remember the game in the regular season in Dallas. I didn't get a shot at 10 in the fourth quarter. We blew a big lead here at home. They kind of blitzed us in the fourth quarter. I know we're a different team than we were then, and a lot more polished. We still have some things to work on in terms of, valuing the possessions and taking care of the basketball, but we have a lot better flow and understanding of how we're going to create good offense, even if they want to, trap me all over the court or try to keep the ball out of my hands. So we'll be prepared for all of that. But I feel like they'll probably take a page out of that game in Dallas. And whatever I don't remember what they did in the fourth quarter here. We'll probably start to look at those two games and figure out what's the best guess of what they'll try tomorrow or maybe on Wednesday, and then go from there.
You remember playing Jason Kidd?
Yeah.
What do you remember about it? Was late career Kidd, but
That was my rookie year, I think. Is he in Dallas? And then he was in New York. My second year. Yeah. I just remember him being an unbelievably sound point guard that I felt like never left the top of the key. It was at that end of point of his career. He could obviously shoot the ball, but they designed an offense around him and Dirk that he just controlled the game and never really left the top of the key and just picked teams apart. So we got a long history of knowing about J Kidd just from his time or hearing about his time playing in Alameda in high school and obviously at Cal and watch him in the league and all that. To then have him played, had the pleasure of playing against him for a couple of years. My favorite memory of him is all the reactions and mannerisms he had when he was on the bench in New York when I was going off. Those are my favorite videos of him on the bench. Like what is going on? There's a lot of respect over there.
do you think because of who he was as a player, how much he probably understands that position, do you think that's probably leads into why he's so willing to double you and kind of, I guess, over scheme against a star guard?
I'm sure he remembers what it was like when teams try to do it to him for sure, but that sounds like good coaching. So he wants to be a good coach. That's what you do.
Steph, what do you remember about the We Believe series between the Mavs and Warriors?
The what?
The We Believe, that series.
I mean, I just remember the energy. I didn't really know much about Dub Nation at the time or what was going on out here in the Bay. I was still back in I was at Davidson watching the playoffs. So you could just tell how electric the building was coming out, coming through the TV. Obviously the 1-8 matchup and the history with, Don Nelson, the Mavs and all that, and just all the different subplots. But it was just good basketball, good entertaining basketball. They played with an edge. Obviously they won, and it was it's what you heard about ever since, I remember when I first got out here at Oracle, they used to interview all the season ticket holders during the game, or season ticket holder the other night. And like, what's your favorite Warrior moment? And that was always the one.
That's all we
that
had.
or Baron Davis dunking on Andre Kirilenko, which is obviously the same year. So that was it.
All right, couple on quick ones on Zoom. Mark Haynes, go ahead.
Hey, Steph, being the two-way player that you are, on both ends, when you looking at film, when you're looking at film,
hey Raymond, you got to put
good job. Thanks for you worded that. That's not exactly what I emailed you, but close.
Yes, keep going.
When you look at that film, try to figure out a game plan. Do you look at the offensive side of the ball or defense first?
You know the answer to that question. I appreciate you trying to set me up, but you know the answer to that question.
All right, Scott, also your hand still up. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Hey, Steph, a two-parter on turnovers. First of all, are you worried about the turnovers? Are you doing anything to address turnovers? And the second part is Kerr said that he's not even going to mention turnovers to you guys. Is that true?
He mentions that he's not going to mention it. So there's a subtle difference to that's just what we do. I'm not going to mention it because he's been mentioning it for 8 years and it still comes up to bite us at times. we always say, it's just being mindful about the type of turnovers that you have. Like, it's interesting because everybody touches the ball every possession and everybody's moving around. Like, they're kind of spread out amongst us all, and it seems like it's a lot more than to us. It feels like at times on the floor. It's not like one guy's just racking up 5, 6, 7 every night. It's just kind of a spread out just because of how we play. But we understand that if we want to hit our peak in terms of just offensive explosion and the ability to put it together every night, we have to keep those down, because keeping it down means we're getting good shots at least, and usually marginal shots for us are good shots, and good things kind of come out of that. So we'll keep it a focus and hopefully, figure it out.
But
So you
Steve
mentioned it
said-
after. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, sorry. No, that's okay.
Okay. All right, I'll go. You mentioned after the game, Wiggins smiling it's a good thing when he smiles. Dumb question, but why are you guys always like looking at him? Why is he so important? Is he just kind of a barometer for you guys? Or you just like him a lot? Why is Wiggins' smile so important to you?
Because we understand what he's capable of in this league, and like all the things he's gone through in his career, from #1 pick to having some amazing statistical years in Minnesota, but not having really much to show for it, to come in here. Like, we understand that he can impact winning basketball, and for him, it's just a matter of if he's locked in and engaged in terms of what that actually means in terms of what he focuses on the court, and that's being physical in defense, taking those matchups seriously, taking on the challenge of it, rebounding basketball, and then just being aggressive on offense, either attacking the paint or taking open shots. And when all that happens, like, he has a different impact on the game that we all appreciate and know makes us better. And him smiling as a result of him just enjoying what that means and the result of all that. So even when he dunks on somebody, we just want him to yell, like, get a tech one time. Like, no, I just want him to, whatever the taunting word is for how they view text now, just go do that one time. Like, we just want to see him just enjoy what he does out there, because he can impact winning.
All right, one last one on Zoom. Connor, go ahead.
Hey, Steph, I heard that you basically had a little bit of a Mother's Day surprise for your mom in terms of your Davidson degree, letting her know that you're going to graduate this spring on Mother's Day. What was that moment like for you? And what did that mean for you?
Yeah, it was special. I was on FaceTime. She wasn't in town, but she's a lifelong educator. I grew up going to her Montessori school in Charlotte, or Huntersville, North Carolina, for 6 years. And then when I went to Davidson, that was a huge part of that experience and that decision, because it's such a highly rated, highly ranked college on the educational front, and for us to balance that in basketball. And then when I left, I knew that was a huge part of seeing something through, was to eventually finish my degree. And that's why I made that promise to her I would. She made the joke, though, like, for the last 10 years, she just got to brag that 2 of her 3 kids are college graduates. One from one from Elon and one from Duke. And so I finally got to join my siblings on that front. So I'm not the odd one out anymore.
Oh, how you doing?
Andrew, did you watch the two game sevens yesterday?
Mhm.
What did you think of the one that pertains to you guys and your opponent for the Western Conference Final?
It's gonna be a tough matchup. You know, they're a good team on both sides of the floor. So it's gonna be interesting.
Andrew, remember we talked about before the game, before the playoffs started? Okay. We talked about what it meant to you, the opportunity to play on this big
I remember
stage.
now. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. You remember what you said?
This is
What you said.
This,
Remember
this
what you
is
said.
like where you get remembered for
Yeah.
what you do and you know how you play.
How do you feel you're doing?
I feel like I've been pretty solid, you know, still can still do more, you know, still up the team more. So
And what's it feel like to be on this stage? I mean, how different is it than what you're used to for most of your career?
it feels good. You know, we're winning, you know, we're in position to do something special, you know, and you know, that feels amazingly part of it.
You've been matched up against Luca, and you're probably going to get the initial assignment in this series. What do you think about when you know that, when you know how hot he's been on a run he is right now? What are your focus? What's your focus when you face him?
It's gonna be a tough matchup, you know, for sure. You know, you've seen what he's been doing, you know, so playoffs. So it's gonna be a team effort. All of us, the whole team, gonna have to do it collectively. You know, he's a handful.
There's great video of Steph looking at you when you're doing your interview, and he's pointing at you and yelling at you. And he said after the game, he just wants to see that smile. He wants to see the wig smile. Things are good. Do you find them trying to cheer you up, trying to get you to smile? And what's that like when they so much focus of these pretty famous guys is on you?
For sure, you know, for sure. You know, usually I'm just, you know, just cool all the way. But you know, it was good to show emotion sometimes. And, you know, last game I feel like deserved it. I've never been here, you know, before. So it's a special opportunity. And you'll see a lot more smiles the further we go.
Steph says he wants you to get a tech on a dunk or some sort of emotion. Yeah, what's the chances of that happening?
Oh, who knows? You know, you never know what could happen. You never know.
Dallas is gonna try to screen you off Luca a bunch. What's kind of the key for you? I mean, if you're switching everything, you kind of just have to switch. But I guess just what's the key when you're trying to stay with Luca and they're trying to get you off of him?
Like I would tell you, but I feel like it's public information. Everyone can hear what I'm saying, so I'm just gonna keep that to myself.
What I guess, no, just
So we were talking about like you're gonna get Luca, and then obviously, you know, you're this super rebounder with like all these tough rebounds. When did it hit you that this was who you are? Like most of your life, you've been a bucket getter, and now you're viewed in this light. When did it get comfortable for you to be that guy?
It's just, you know, in certain opportunities and certain, you know, positions, you know, your roles change. You know, right now, you know, you got Steph, you got Clay, you know, putting the ball up, you know, and I get shot sometimes, but what's gonna help this team win right now, you know, is me playing good defense, me rebounding, and me, you know, me scoring something. But you know, right now, what we need, you know, to keep moving forward and keep winning, you know, I'm just doing what I can. I do like to score though.
Last series, Mike Brown said you asked to pick up full court. Have you grown to like defending point guards? You know, in your time here.
I just feel like I like guarding whoever makes the team go. You know, I feel like those couple games we lost to Memphis, Tyus was like the key to that. You know, he's scoring the ball, he's assisting, he's kind of controlling the game. You know, I just felt like and Tyus had a hell of a series. You know, so I just thought like, you know, if I can try to take him out the game early, you know, get his rhythm off, you know, it would better our chances.
You talked, going back to Monty's question, you said that you feel like you can do more. Is there, what do you mean by that? Like, is there still another notch that you can turn your game up or your intensity up to?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think there's another level, I can get to, and I'm going to get there.
Couple of quick ones on Zoom. Scott Osler, go ahead.
Oh, I sorry, I didn't mean to have my hand up, but while I got you, Andrew, are turnovers a concern of you guys? You've been working on that to try to address that situation or problem or whatever you want to call it?
Said, like, our turnovers for the team, is that a
Oh,
problem that we're concerned about?
We just got limited. We just got to take care of the ball and value it. Every possession matters. And Dallas is a good team, and they take their time, and you turn over the ball, they'll make you pay for it. So we just got to value the ball.
Mark Haynes, go ahead.
Hey, Wiggs, when you first arrived to the Bay Area a couple of years ago, is this kind of what you pictured when you first got here?
Yeah. When I got here, since I've been in the NBA, when you think about Golden State, all you think about is winning. That's just how it's been since I've been in the league. This organization they've been winners. So when I got here, I didn't think anything was going to change. I was excited to play with Steph, Clay, Draymond, to get coached by Steve. So whatever I expected, everything I expected is, coming true.
Terrific. All right. I think that's it. Cool. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.